Now, behind the massive display of military hardware, there was the promotion of an equally important narrative or so-called memory war. Let's tackle the tussle over the nationalist versus the communist narrative. First, China has appropriated exactly this victory of China over Japan in World War II as belonging to the communists and therefore the People's Republic of China, rather than nationalist government forces of the Republic of China led by Chiang Kai-shek. From 1911 to 1945, the ROC held power in China and not the PRC, which was only established in 1949. However, last week, the PRC accused Taiwan of, quote, blaspheming the Chinese sacrifices by denying the so-called pivotal role of the communists. Professor Su, how would you characterize, how would you illustrate, the comparative contributions of the CCP, the communists versus the nationalists?
Well, actually, it is clear that the ROC, the Republic of China military, was the main force to fight with Japanese military in World War II in China. But to be fair, the CCP, well, guerrilla or military force, also made some contributions, but very limited. It was limited not only because of its small size, but also that the CCP force wanted to conserve its strength for the incoming civil war to come. And in fact, we should not ignore the fact that in 1972, when former Japanese Prime Minister Kakue Tanaka visited China, and Mao even thanked him for the war because due to the war, the CCP became stronger and stronger, and actually eventually grabbed the power and ruled China. So basically, I would say that there might be some contribution made by the CCP, but it's very limited and it's very strategic.
Victor, we talked about the huge military investment and the reasons, the importance of doing that. But when it comes to rewriting history, she has recast World War II as basically a major turning point. This is what the analysis is in the, as Jiman said, great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation, that it was able to overcome the humiliation from Japan's invasion, and then now is this economic and political powerhouse. Tell me how all the threads come together in this narrative.
They bet on Taiwan will not remember the so-called VJ days, because the Taiwanese has a very different memory and experience during the World War II under the Japanese rule. So even today, some of the Chinese netizens describe the Taiwanese people during the World War II as the sidekick of Imperial Japanese.
So Taiwan was a colony of Japan at the time. So in essence, Taiwan was on the side of Japan.
Yes. It is important for the Chinese to emphasize this part so that they can really redefine what is the so-called victory over Japan. Then it was led by them instead of the Chiang Kai-shek government. When a new regime comes out and replacing the old one, they will redefine the history. So that's exactly what China is doing right now.
Okay, so on September 3rd, Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te and Vice President Xiao Bi-kim paid tribute to all those who made the ultimate sacrifice in major battles at the National Revolutionary Martyrs Shrine in Taipei. Early in the week, Taiwan marked Armed Services Day to thank veterans of the ROC military for their contribution to peace. And the country commemorated also the 67th anniversary of a 1958 naval battle during the PRC's attack on Taiwan's Jinmen Islands in the Second Taiwan Strait crisis. Despite the ROC or nationalists decamping to Taiwan after losing the Chinese Civil War, Taiwan does not officially mark World War II's victory over Japan Day, as Victor had said. Guillemont, Beijing has criticized Taiwan. Taiwan has taken quite a hard line stance in banning officials, former military defense personnel, and also celebrities. It has sought to impress on celebrities not to go to this event. What would be the significance of Taiwanese attending? Why is the government taking this stance?
Because it gives legitimacy to the propaganda that the Communist Party of China is promoting, which is a lie. Even Prime Minister Modi, who was a buddy-buddy with everybody at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting, left and did not show up in Beijing.
Is it also about this unity or unification of China? Because at the time, the communist and the nationalist forces did come together in unity to fight the Japanese.
I mean, it was called the United Front several times. Unfortunately, the United Front today is a tool of the Communist Party trying to infiltrate not only domestically but also internationally. So it was an attempt by both sides to commit, but also keep an eye on their opposition, because they knew at the end of the war, the Civil War would continue.
Now, accounts of the time describe the decisive contribution of the United States to ending World War II. From its massive industrial base that supplied 2/3 of the Allies' global war effort, to its ability to gain naval supremacy in the Pacific, disrupting Japanese supply lines and destroying the Japanese Navy, to, of course, the fateful and controversial bombings on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, atomic bombs that forced Japan's ultimate capitulation. But some historians, like Oxford University's Rana Mitter, say that the ROC's refusal to surrender kept down 600,000 Japanese forces in China that were not able to continue a rampage toward the Soviet Union and even India or Australia. But China and Russia are going further, asserting that they were World War II's true heroes in defeating fascist Germany and Japan in World War II. China especially argues, through the inclusion of the ROC in the 1943 Cairo Declaration and 1945 Potsdam Declaration, it has the right to the rewards of both the post-war order and is indeed the international system's real guardian alongside Russia. In fact, both the Cairo and Potsdam declarations were not legal documents and were later superseded by the legally binding San Francisco Treaty. Now, these narratives come especially as the US under Donald Trump withdraws from international institutions and reintroduces protectionism through the raising of trade barriers. Professor Su, let me ask you, so China and Russia argue that they are the guardians of the post-war order. Let's deal with that first.
Yeah. Well, historically, we cannot ignore that actually the Soviet Red Army counter-offensives at Stalingrad and Kursk were pivotal in turning the tide of the World War II. And in China, the KMT military, let me emphasize that. I mean, at that time, the CCP government hadn't been established. You know, the KMT military also made contribution to tying down over half of the million Japanese troops in China for 8 years. However, Russia and China are challenging such post-war order right now because of their action today, Russia invasion of Ukraine and China's rejection of the ruling of 2016 UNCLOS ruling and the threats to Taiwan. And actually, these actions undermine the very order that they vow to defend.
Exactly. Victor, you know, justification, using World War II to justify invading Ukraine, possibly invading Taiwan, you know, and all the activity in the South China Sea. And yet, the two of them talked about how the US is bullying. And they, in contrast, represent stability, security, and predictability. What do you make of that?
The point is, China has long been a good friend of Russia, and so that they won't criticize what sort of the contribution that the Soviet Union has contributed to the Pacific theater. But if we look at the history, yes, Soviet Union was the only one who provided the military armament to China.
Not the US?
Yes, but at the early stage, at the early stage, when before the American was joining the war,
the Pacific War. Okay. So from 1941, the US came in and also provided armaments to
Right.
China.